we're going to get started with drawing our favorite friend, Eeyore. We even have a cute little plush of him here on the stage for your enjoyment. We're going to actually be drawing him from that front-facing perspective. And usually with these characters that are nice and soft and approachable, we always start with a circle. So go ahead and build a circle here towards the top of your page. This is going to act as the upper half of his head here. And you'll notice I drew a bunch of circles. I can't draw a perfect one. So instead, I default to drawing a billion of them until I see one that I can visualize drawing on the rest of his body. And then we want to add another circle right below this. And it does cut in slightly into the top circle. And this is going to act as where his mouth is because he is a donkey. So we want to make sure that we add that here. So you see just a little cutout, just a tiny little eye there. Next thing we want to do is we want to add some guidelines. It's going to help us figure out where his mouth, his nose, everything is going to go. So go ahead and add another line, just one line, right through the middle of your snowman here. Now that we have that line in, we also want to add a few more extra guidelines to figure out everything else too. So right here, right in between your little eyeball, add another guideline. And now you have a plus. A Disney Plus. Subscribe, everybody. Sorry, how to do it. How to do the shameless plug at least once. And guess what? You can watch all the Winnie the Pooh films on Disney Plus. Go figure. Alrighty. We need to add one more line here. Go ahead and head to the bottom circle that we made. And go ahead and part this into fours. Kind of like you would with pizza. However, I like my pizzas at just half for now and half for 5 seconds later. But what are you going to do when they're starving artists while watching you eat your pizza? And this is it, friends. This is our basic foundation for Eeyore, and it looks nothing like him. We're going to go ahead and start carving it out. So from here, I want to go ahead and start shaping out his muzzle. So do me a favor, right over here on your left-hand side, go ahead and start building this nice little curved line. And it's going to connect both edges to make sure that that little space there is now within his face. And you're going to do the same thing here on the other side. Now that we have these steps in, we're going to get started on adding those details to his muzzle. So the front part of his face is actually a much lighter color, much lighter gray, as you can see on the plush up there. So do me a favor and find your guideline here like I'm pointing out. Go ahead and start building this nice rainbow shape from the edge. And it barely touches that top circle at the very bottom. So you want to keep it within, under that circle. And then now that we have the first part of his muzzle out, we want to get started on adding his wonderful smile. Yes, we know he is very gloomy at points, but hey, it helps you look on the bright side of things too. He is made out of sawdust after all, so I would be a little gloomy too if that was me. So right here, right below those, that line that we just had, go ahead and start carving up, following that circle line upwards towards where your rainbow shape is. But you're not going to go exactly up there. From here, you're going to cap this off with a nice rainbow because when you smile, your cheeks get pushed up, right? So you want to emphasize this, especially with our characters, especially in animation. In animation, you really want to make sure that your audience can clearly read what your characters are feeling, thinking, without the means of dialogue sometimes. Characters such as Wall-E, Stitch, Pluto, they don't have many voice lines. But you can tell exactly what they're thinking sometimes just by the look of their eyes or simply the placement of where their ears, their nose, like all their eyes, how they furrow, the brows, how they're furrowed. Things like that can really clearly tell your audience exactly what this character is feeling. And I feel like that's one of the coolest things about art and media. All right, now that we've gone to this part, I know we showed our smile line is getting pushed up, but we want to emphasize the cheeks too. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and find your smile line here on the left-hand side. Do me a favor and start bringing this on up to that rainbow line we made at the beginning. And then don't forget to lock it in. These lines that I'm making now, I'm really happy with my placement, so I'm taking that opportunity to make sure that these lines stick out to whoever would be looking at my piece of art today. And look, those sketchy lines are practically disappearing now. And do this too on the other side. And then we're about halfway there with our donkeys. How are we doing, guys? 2 people are doing great. Everyone else is stunned silent by how amazing their drawings are coming out, right? I got 1 gift just from the guy up here. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the positivity here. Hey, but this is your first time drawing Eeyore for many of you, right? Exactly, so why are you so hard on yourselves? It took me quite a few tries to finally get him right. And I'm giving you the tools so that you can practice this at home. So, now that we're a little caught up because we're at our halfway point, let's go ahead and add his nostrils. They're going to be resting directly on each side of our corners here. And they're going to look like tiny little apple seeds. So go ahead and draw these tiny little ovals, kind of pointing inwards. And then now that I like what I see, I can start darkening in the rest of his muzzle shape, along with the sides of his face. Now, what does every donkey need so that they can hear danger coming? What is it? Shout it out. Ears. Yeah, those nice big ears. They actually rest on the sides of his face here. You really want to think of these ears as being like large mango slices. Yeah, I'm a starving artist, Andrew. All right, so for these mango slices, you're first going to do these nice parentheses, and they're going to go just a little bit past his mouth here. You don't want to go too far because they're not that long, just a little bit right by his chin. Once you guys have this part in, do me a favor and do a tiny little rounded U-turn. Don't make these parts too sharp. Remember, Eeyore is a plush animal, so we want to make sure that the audience can read that he's a nice, soft plush. And then right over here, I'm going to have this right back to the rest of his head shape. And we're going to do this on each side. Go ahead and create another mango for me. Now, these characters are super old. They're actually about 100 years old now. And they didn't actually start off with the Walt Disney Company. Winnie the Pooh is actually based off of a storybook from A.A. Milne and was illustrated by E.H. Shepard. So we really have the young Shepard man to actually thank for all these amazing designs that Disney got their hands on and made some slight improvements for the animation world. Once you guys have this, do me a favor and add this little ear flap going parallel with your ear there, to really show off that this is indeed a different color. And then when Disney got their hands on the book, he absolutely fell in love with these characters. They were very popular in London at the time, but he really wanted to bring it over to the States. And sure enough, it did become a big hit. However, you should notice that quite a few of our characters have made a lot of changes from their original storybook counterparts. Back in the day, Piglet did not wear that amazing magenta jumper. As you can see on the original plush here, he is wearing a green one, and that's what he wore in the books as well. And even Winnie the Pooh, he did not even wear that really confident crop top. He's the only Disney character that can do that. That's so cool. I want that confidence, honestly. But see, he's short, fat, and proud of that. And that red shirt was only added just because the toy companies were selling Winnie the Pooh plushes once it got really popular after Walt Disney released those movies. And they wanted to make sure that the audiences were buying a genuine Winnie the Pooh doll. So what the toy companies did is they added that red shirt with the iconic word in yellow letters, Pooh, so that you knew as a child that my parents love me so much. They bought me a very, it's straight from the company, Winnie the Pooh, genuine Winnie the Pooh doll. But unfortunately, during the animation process, it proved really difficult to animate the word Pooh in every single shot. It's about 26 individual drawings per frame to animate, so it would have proved very, very difficult. Alright, so now that we've gotten to this part, we also need to add those really, really sad eyes. And we're going to be using this guideline here as our eye line, making it a little darker for you guys to see. We're going to start off with some nice oval shapes here. And they're going to be really big because we want to make sure that the audiences can clearly read what this character is feeling on the screen. And you want to draw 2 of these on each side. And then he has that really sad look. So we're not going to leave his eyes wide open like this because right now he's looking like he discovered Blue Bear ate all of his honey. We don't want that. So instead, we're going to go ahead and draw a rainbow shape kind of pointing upwards to really show off that gloomy expression that he has all the time. And of course, he needs those pupils. And this is another part you guys can get really creative with. You can add hearts maybe a rain cloud because it always follows him around, maybe a honey pot. It's up to you. I'm going to be drawing these nice big pupils right under those rainbows. I really want to make sure that the audiences can clearly indicate what he's feeling via this, so I'm going to make this the darkest part of my drawing. I hear some intense drawing out there. I love it. And then, of course, don't forget, lock in your favorite lines nice and clearly. And then he's missing something towards the top of his head. What is it?
A tuft.
Yeah, his little puff of hair, as you can see here on the plush on our stage. So this tuft of hair, you want to imagine them as little tiny sharp fins or blades of grass. And these are going to rest solely directly on top of his head. So I'm going to have one large leaf here, and I'm going to cut this off into tiny little sharp fins, like I said. And then I'm just going to sprinkle some little blades of grass all around to really show off that cute little messy mane that he has. And like I said, this is another part you guys can get creative with it. Maybe he just wanted to try a mohawk for a day. Maybe he got a perm. It's really up to you. Again, one of the best parts about art is if you can think it, you can make it.
He's bold. Mine's got bangs.
Excellent. And then once you guys have your hair in place, go ahead and start darkening in your favorite lines by just tracing over that circle shape we made at the beginning. And he's a plush, right? He also needs those little stitches all around his face. We're actually going to be using our middle guideline here for the placement. So right here, I'm just going to add another darker line to really emphasize this is indeed a stitch. And then I'm going to add a few stitches here towards the top of the rainbow for his muzzle. And then there's one more right at the bottom of his eyes, and then two more right below his hair. And we want to push the expressions of our characters. So let's go ahead and add this other parentheses going outward right under his eye to really show off that gloomy expression. And the last thing we need on him is his eyebrows. Go ahead and add a nice line here towards the top. And make these nice and thick. We have some modern eyebrows up in here, no 90s eyebrows. No. Never doing that again. I see a lot of the younger kids going back to the early 2000s fashion, so especially at Target, I was so shook. But then I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just go all the way? Pencil eyebrows, all the way. Oh my gosh, I know my mom did it and she regretted it. All right, and then of course, darken in these eyebrows, make them nice and dark. For his head of hair, you can also shade that in too. It's a nice gray dark color, and then the rest of his body is also a nice little light color gray if you want to color that in. But that is it, guys. You have just drawn your very own sad donkey named Eeyore from the 100-Acre Wood. So of course, give yourself some credit. Write your name somewhere on the page so everyone knows that this was your lovely creation that you made here today at the Disneyland Resort. How did you guys do?